Alright, in this video we're going to show you how to set up HAL connections in Flex GUI. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to add another page to our tab widget. Change the name. And HAL stands for Hardware Abstract Layer. So we'll go back to our docs, down to HAL. Now the dynamic property names are case sensitive. It must be all lowercase. The HAL types and directions are case sensitive, must be all caps. And you can have those particular for the pin names, A through Z. So we'll start out with a Q push button. So the property name, drag a push button on there. I'm going to add the dynamic property, the string type function, and that function is HAL pin. And that's got to be a lowercase. The pin name is any unique name. If it's a name that's used by the system, you'll get a warning, and it won't create that particular HAL object. So now we need to set the type. This is a bit. Push buttons can only be a HAL bit. HAL direction, push button is always going to be out. Yeah. So just copy and paste to get these in there pretty quickly. Now I'm going to run show HAL. And we see we got the pin Flex HAL button, and all the HAL things that you create is going to be Flex HAL dot something, whatever your name is. And it's not enabled unless the power's on. And you see that it's toggling in there as I push it. So it's just that easy to create a HAL object. So the next thing we'll do is a Q checkbox. Rename it. Let's just try something here. I don't think you can do it, but I'm going to try to copy the button and see if the dynamic properties follow it. I don't think they do. Nope. See, the dynamic properties don't follow it, so you can't drag and drop like that, create another one. So we'll add our function. Make sure we got the right thing checked. Our function is HAL pin, just like the push button. Now we add the pin name. This is the name that shows up in HAL. We'll call this one HAL checkbox. Now we've got a HAL type, and it's going to be a bit. Buttons, checkboxes, radio buttons are all bits. And a little note about the radio buttons: unless you default one to be on, they will all start out being off. Just a little thing to remember. Okay, now we've created our HAL checkbox. Save it. Run our configuration. Go ahead and turn it on. Load the show HAL. We'll add that to our watch window. Now you can see when I check it, it turns on. Press the button, turns it on. Uncheck it, it's off. Now if I go to the checkbox and I go down to GUI abstract button section and I check off checked, and we restart, you'll see that it's checked, and it's also checked. It's also true in HAL. So you can preset those things. So now we'll skip on down to a spinbox, and you can either be a Q spinbox or a Q double spinbox. The Q spinbox is for HAL 32, HAL U32, and a double spinbox can be only floats. Down here, grab a spinbox. It's in there somewhere. There it is. I get a function. It's going to be HAL pin, like the rest of them. So it really just takes a minute to make one. We'll call it HAL spinbox. HAL type, you can be a float, S32, which is signed 32-bit, or U32, which is an unsigned 32-bit number. So it can be any of those numbers, whatever you want to pick. This one's going to make a signed 32, which means that you can go plus or minus. And the direction is always out on a spin box. Okay, we got to create it. Now we're going to make the minimum minus 100. That way we can go negative to show you that it's signed. And maximum is 100. Save that. And we'll put a default value of 25 in there. Press enter, and it's there. Let's save again. Now we'll run the simulator. You see the value is 25 on there. We'll add that pin to the watch window. You can see that it starts 25 when it starts up, so you can have a default number in there if that's what you need. At minus 25, and you see it change to a minus 25. And you see it change as I press the up and down button. Okay. Next thing we'll have is a Q slider. And we'll create that just like we did the number, except the slider can only be a unsigned or signed 32-bit. Function is HAL pin. My pin name is going to be HAL slider. Now HAL type, we're going to make this a U32. And direction is out. Always. Anything that sets the value, the direction is going to be out. Anything that reads the value, the direction is going to be in. So now we've got that set. We'll save it. Run our simulator. Add it to the watch window. Slider. Okay. Now you can see when I move the slider back and forth, the number changes in the watch window. Alright, now a HAL label is a reader. In other words, it receives a value, doesn't set a value. so its direction is in. Just like everything else, it's a function of a HAL pin. And pin name, guess what? It's going to be HAL label. Pin names have to be unique. Just got to keep that in mind. And the HAL type can be anything. In this case, we're going to make it U32 because we want to show you something. U32. Make sure we got the right thing selected. Alright. And HAL direction is in. I must get dizzy going back and forth, but alright, we'll run the configuration. And you can see it shows a 0. We'll add that label to the watch window. And notice it's got a set value in the watch window. So we can actually set that value from here. And you can see it change over here. Now, we're going to make a connection, and the connections for these have to be in a postgui HAL file, because that's not loaded until after the GUI loads, and the GUI has to load first, because that's where the information is. So now we've specified the postgui HAL. Now the first thing we're going to do is just show you how to set a pin. Now if you go to the show window, select a label, you can actually select that label. You got to use the middle mouse button to copy it. And one press the middle mouse button over here, we'll paste it. It's kind of strange, but that's just the way that works. So we'll set pin. It's SP, set P. I'm going to set it to 24. Save it. Run our configuration. We can see that it's set at 24. And let's show HAL. You can see in the watch window that it's set to 24. Okay. Now let's do pin name, but net. And these direction indicators don't actually do anything. It's just there for human readability. So we're going to connect our HAL slider to the HAL label in a postgui. Now we'll run the configuration, and oops, I forgot the signal name. Alright, got to have a signal name. That's the next thing after a net. So this one will be some signal name. Alright, here we go. Now as I drag the slider, look at the label. It reflected in the number of the slider. We did that in HAL. Oh, we're going to do the LCD. That's what we're doing. You can have a Q LCD number. And there it is. So we've got an LCD number. We've got a function. HAL pin, just like always. Pin name is going to be HAL LCD. HAL type, we're going to make this a U32 as well. And its direction is in, just like the label. HAL 32, HAL direction, okay, and HAL in. Okay. Let's save the configuration. Run it. You can see our LCD number there. We'll add that to the watch window. And we can also set the value. But notice the one above it can't be set because it's connected to something else. The label is already connected to the slider. So here, I'm going to connect that slider to the HAL LCD. By using the same signal name. Because the HAL label and LCD are both readers, you can connect more than one of those to the same signal. Senders, you can only collect one. What? I can't spell right. It's not Flex Hill, it's Flex HAL. Oh, there it is. Typo. Fixed the typo. Alright. Save it. Now run. Yay. Now, when I move the slider, both of those move. And you can see it in the watch window that they're moving. Everything working. And it's just that simple. Enjoy.